Right, so hello and welcome to what is the first.
It's the first.
It's the first of, let's call it the Learning Hooks podcast. This is a bit of an experiment for us. We do have a subject we want to talk about today. We have Rhiana Power here, one of our learning design extraordinaires and project managers. I'm Justin Cruikshank, our design and production manager. We also have Brenden Carter.
Hello.
Our creative director and general manager.
Lover of podcasts too, I must say.
I think we're all lovers of podcasts here after reading this blog. So, Rhiana, you've written a blog which is we're really interested in about how podcasts could they or should they be used more in e-learning? We're trying to find a way to include them more. What sparked this for you?
Well, I've been listening to podcasts only because I haven't been able to read on my phone. My neck has been hurting by just hanging down my head and looking at my phone, so I had to look for alternatives. And I started with just listening to two people talk about how stuff works. But that didn't really do it for me. So I went and I listened to a psychological thriller called Homecoming. And it was so fascinating because everything about it made me think about what my characters looked like. I could hear the emotion in their voices. And after, I think, season 1, I knew everything about their personalities and what they were going to do next. And I thought, what a fantastic way to start engaging learners and helping them just visualize things better without the distraction of video. And I think we also, a lot of times clients don't have budgets for a lot of videos, and I thought this is quicker, cheaper, and depending on what kind of training you are designing, I think it's great for anything where you're teaching how to talk about something, how you say something. I think this could be the next big thing.
I love this concept.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting in the written part of your blog, Rhiana. We're talking about where this could be applied. So the first thing I thought was, okay, we're always thinking about the length of training. We're always trying to keep it compact, and podcasts generally lend themselves to a longer format. Just thinking, well, how does that fit into an e-learning landscape? And I thought your examples were great. The idea of soft skills and leadership skills, the way that audio can be used to really expose different ways of having conversations.
Yep.
Get to sample different ways, hearing different ways of how they come across. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. Did you come across any other ideas for other applications for it, or was that where you left it?
Well, you know how much I love leadership and management, so that was one of the first things that I thought of. But I think most of the training that we do today, look at things like induction, right? It's so interesting. Maybe we could do something with podcasts. Maybe, do a quick podcast with, let's say, the HR manager, for instance, instead of introducing the org chart and what the HR manager does and what the HR team does. How about just walking to the HR team and just saying, tell me one great thing about your job. What do you love doing about your job? Isn't that so much better than just quotes of text about what people love about
It's definitely an option, I think, too. We often do those sort of, and I think it's pretty common, vox pop kind of video interviews, but there's I think the point here is podcasts are actually really interesting, and there is and there's still a lot of people that don't listen to them. And I think the idea of a serial podcast is really interesting. When you were talking before, and by the way, I haven't read the blog, so I'm coming into this conversation absolutely fresh. Cool. And I love that concept, and for a couple of reasons. People that don't get into podcasts haven't experienced a great serial podcast. When I studied creative writing many years ago, and I did popular fiction and playwriting, non-fiction, all kinds of writing. Interestingly, the biggest areas that writers make money in, and one of them that really surprised me was writing for radio and writing radio plays. So there's this huge market out there for that kind of content. That's different, but the point is those radio plays are serials.
Yep.
Like the old-fashioned kind of serials where you tune in once a week to catch up on what's happening.
Yep.
And we do that in our e-learning in different ways, where we're jumping into different scenarios that keep the person coming back for more, or like a serial, The Walking Dead, right?
Yeah.
It ends on a cliffhanger in every episode, and we keep coming back, maybe. So I think what you said before, Rhiana, about finding your love affair with podcasts, it does come over.
Yeah.
And even it just also a break in the medium. Like it's simply from a media point of view, it suddenly becomes not white noise because it's something different that you haven't been overexposed to.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it.
There was another point that Rhiana made too, which just said you hadn't read the blog, and so you wouldn't have seen this, but it ties in, is the idea that it's great for push content. So it's the kind of thing that you're talking about serials, it's something that could come out weekly. If there's a hot subject that's going on in the business.
That's right.
You've got the podcast that's coming out every week, fortnightly, whatever can be accommodated.
Well, similar to other curated content that we've done in like learning campaigns, we can plan on curation over a period of 2 days, right? 2 days' work can give us 3 months worth of content.
Absolutely.
So it's that planning. So because I think that good serial writing, it doesn't just appear, right? It's going to be some really good copywriting and some engaging content with some cliffhangers.
Yeah.
And you produce all of that much quicker than the video sort of content.
Yeah.
And then I love that, JC, that when we cut it up in a way where we've got basically episodes that can be pushed out. This is a great idea.
And I think people have lesser time these days. They're trying to juggle work and, the demand from management to complete training. I think these kind of podcasts, when pushed at regular intervals, feel shorter. And because it is shorter, the design, the thought behind the design is to provide need-to-know information. Right, so you're not providing bells and whistles and all of that. It is what they need to know to do their job well. And when people start getting a hang of it and saying, "Wow, this is 2 minutes, and I know exactly what I need to," they'll come back for more.
Yeah, I love it.
Could even generate a new spin on the old scenario. We use scenarios all the time in e-learning. And when you guys are talking about serialised stories, and especially, Brenden, when you mentioned the radio play, because that's what I was thinking when I was reading the...
romance novels, that's another area you can make money in. But let's run with the radio play.
Let's go with that for now. So, reading the blog, Rhianna, I was reminded, it made me think, wow, this is kind of really retro. The idea that we've got people listening to these stories online, which have had audiobooks for a while, and the original was the radio play, right? Before TV, there was the radio play. And it reminded me of a situation. I was in the UK, and I think the UK is a bit of a different media landscape there. I tuned into a BBC channel, and they were running a radio play. And my first instinct was, oh my God, how daggy and retro, right?
Yeah.
But before long, I was engrossed in that story, and it was just really well read. It wasn't like they had a bunch of characters. I think they might have, but it was engaging. It was well read, and I was in the story before long.
Yep.
And I'm driving back from a shoot, and before I know it, I've been listening to this story for a good 20 minutes, and then they ding ding, we're off to the break, and you've got to tune in next week to see how it goes. And I'm like, I want to know what's coming next.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you tie that into scenarios, so...
Right.
That drip feeding concept's interesting too. Like the Netflix concept, it'd be interesting from an analytics point of view, from an enterprise or any organisation following a method like this, is release the 9 episodes all at once. And have a look at how people are consuming it, because those cliffhangers, in the old days when you want to tune in and you were travelling, JC, you're probably like, oh damn, I was loving that. Am I actually going to catch this at 2:30 next Friday? Probably not. I'll be in a different country. So that's cool. There's lots of applications.
But that's in terms of structuring the writing like that too. That's how you can maintain interest. The actual writing for that, setting up an idea. We're going to learn more about this next week. If you structure it really well, you have people coming back. So it's not just about pushing learning; it's also about pull. Making this stuff available on learning portals as well. I think there's a lot of room for podcasts. I think it's a great blog, Rhianna. Thanks for sharing it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks.
Anyone else got anything to add?
It's
nothing for me.
Perhaps an ironic and good first podcast, I hope.
I think so.
It's great to share it.
Yeah, that's a bit reflective, I think. Reflexive? I think reflexive is the word. Thanks for listening.